right, welcome to another episode of the Brick by Brick podcast. I'm your host, Amir, and today I'm joined by the one and only Sue McLay of the Tyler McLay Realty team. Thank you for joining me, Sue.
Thanks for having me, Amir.
Yeah,
Excited
it's
to be
a
here.
privilege. It's a privilege to have you. I'm super excited to do this episode because I know you have a lot of knowledge on downtown and the core specifically, as well as everywhere else. So I really want to dig deep into the downtown market because that's not the most area of expertise I have personally. I mostly transact outside of the city, so that's really interesting to me. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit about that. But first, let's get to know you a little bit. How did you get into real estate, and how was your journey in real estate so far?
Yeah, so I've been a realtor now for a little over 4 years. Loved every minute of it. It's definitely my passion, but it's not what I always saw myself doing. Funny enough, a lot of people just assume it's what I always set my sights on. Third generation realtor. My grandparents were realtors. My mom is a realtor. She still transacts today. My brother is a realtor, and now myself as well.
Right.
So
powerhouse family.
Yeah, you can imagine what we talk about at the dinner table. It's a lot of real estate. But essentially, when growing up, I was around it so often that I didn't think it's what I wanted to do. I kind of thought I wanted something that I had more structure to, more 9 to 5. So I actually studied marketing, intended to pursue a career in marketing, and very quickly found out that I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I missed the client-facing portion. I missed the face-to-face time. I missed the autonomy, and I realized that a career in real estate gave me everything that I wanted in terms of career style, and also just that the day in, day out is what I love.
Yeah.
You know, every day is different, helping clients reach their real estate goals. One day it's a first-time buyer, the next day it's a family, maybe they're downsizing, maybe they're upsizing. You really never know what you're going to get, right? You know that.
Exactly, yeah.
And every day is different. So
everything's new. You know, it's not the same thing over and over again. And it's people and it's their livelihoods and it's their families.
Yeah.
So it's really rewarding to be able to fulfill their needs and work with them that way. So definitely much more fun than a 9 to 5, I would say. I'd say you made the right choice.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing any other job.
Yeah. And obviously you've completely taken off. You're all over the place. I think you're really doing really well on TikTok and Instagram and almost all the other platforms.
Yeah, it's interesting how that all started, honestly. I think like everybody else, during the pandemic, I downloaded TikTok. I was like, didn't fully know what it was. I thought it was,
dance
kid
videos
dancing and cooking videos or...
Renegades.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't make any of those. But yeah, during the pandemic, I was just scrolling and then I kind of thought, well, there's no reason there shouldn't be real estate content on here.
Absolutely.
You start to see more educational content and start to see different things. So the first few videos I made, I mean, if you scroll down to the bottom, I haven't deleted any. They're not very good. They're terrible. But
with anything.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were condo tours, were, of the views of the condos I was showing or houses or things like that. And I like them. I mean, they performed okay. But then I quickly realized I'm not adding any value. And to me, that's the most important part. So I started doing building reviews.
Right.
And that's kind of what made my TikTok take off, was adding value in that way for people, because looking to rent or buy in the downtown market especially, kind of similar anywhere, but especially downtown where two buildings on the same street can be vastly different, have different reputations, different management. And when you see a lot of younger people in that market, it's a lot to navigate. It can be overwhelming.
Definitely.
So that was kind of the niche that I took on the educational side, and then building reviews, which then, spiraled into everything else, day in the life, behind the scenes, just explaining different topics, what they mean. The more videos I made, the more I realized that people just don't know the fundamentals of real estate, of buying, selling, leasing, and they also don't know the right questions to ask.
Exactly.
Right? Because you don't know what to ask if you've never done it before.
It really is a concrete jungle in Toronto.
Yeah.
And navigating real estate almost always feels like a concrete jungle too, because there's so many different minor things and things that you need really expertise advice on, stuff like that. So it's tough to navigate. But what I think you've done really well is leveraging social media for education, right? So what I see is you're always educating the buyers and your clients through social media in a really digestible and easy to understand way, which is super valuable.
Yeah.
Especially because generally our demographic in downtown is very similar to us,
Yeah.
right? So it really helps having you instead of, somebody that's of a different generation and thinks differently, has different needs, try to explain it in a way that's, harder to understand. So I think that's something that you've done really well, and that's why I enjoy watching a lot of your content too, because I feel like I can relate to it.
Yeah.
Firstly, and it's my things that I worry about. It's my concerns that you're discussing and you're guiding me through.
Absolutely. I think the being relatable a little bit definitely helps. And look, a lot of it might be boring stuff, right? Talking about how much it costs to buy a condo. What are mortgage payments? What is interest? And to most people, and especially younger people, it's daunting, it's not exciting. So if I can make it fun and frame it in a way that they can really understand and then be better prepared one day when it comes to buying a house, that's my goal. My goal on social media is never to be buy a house with me, sell your house with me, like use me. It's
better
very
call
much
Saul.
Yeah. Better call Sue.
Sue, right.
But it's more the approach of these are the facts, and then which has then like transpired into people reaching out, asking me further questions, and then people reaching out and using me as their realtor.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think it's another tool in our arsenal that good realtors use, right? Mm-hmm. A good realtor will use every tool that's possible to better help and better guide their client, right? So another thing that you're doing really well is leveraging this new phenomenon of social media in showcasing the properties that you're selling.
Absolutely.
Right? And getting ultimately marketing, because you have a marketing background, I'm sure you know this really well, and that's why it's translated so well for you, is leveraging these tools to get more eyes on the property, get more interest in there, because ultimately there are buyers for every property.
100%.
And our goal is to find those buyers and direct them to the listing that's right for them, right?
Absolutely.
And
Exposure
you've
is
done really
everything
well.
right now, right? And more often than not, people are sending their realtor the properties they want to see now because they love it. It's addicting. They're on House Sigma, they're on Realtor.ca, they're on Condos.ca.
Yeah.
So they're seeing things sometimes before their realtor is seeing it.
Sometimes in the middle of the night.
Right? I know. I get texts sometimes. They're like, "Hey Sue, I saw this on TikTok," because they saw someone else's building walkthrough,
right?
And they're like, "Can we go see this?"
Yeah.
Right? So it's a huge tool, and if you're not leveraging it in a market, especially like this, where exposure is everything, we need to be getting buyers through the door because people aren't going to buy a house unless they see it. More often than not, I mean, sight unseen does happen, but most often they need to come see the house.
Right.
So it's so important to have that exposure, get eyes on the property, and then get buyers through the door.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really good. I would say good transition for real estate and social media for them to go hand in hand and work better. I know a lot of the work you do, just trying to tie together education, social media, and young people together, is with first-time home buyers.
Absolutely.
I think you're one of the best resources for first-time home buyers in Toronto.
Thank you.
It's a really complicated market. It's lots of micro buildings and micro, neighborhoods and stuff like that. And staying in that spirit of first-time home buyers, what would you recommend, or what do you recommend to your clients that are buying their first homes? What are some things, if somebody's buying their first home, they got to take into account?
I mean, there's so much to take into consideration now more than ever, right? Because it's a very difficult market to break into. What I hate to see is that mentality of it's impossible. And I think young people are told again and again by their family,
never buy a home.
You're never going to own a home. The media, you're never going to own a home. My friend was in their marriage classes, and they said, if any of you are thinking of owning a home, just forget it.
Yeah. What terrible advice.
What terrible advice. If that's what they're being told, they're going to start to believe it.
Yeah.
Right? I think the number one piece of advice for first-time buyers is to reach out to the professionals in the space that are working in the space day in, day out, and have gone through it themselves, purchasing a property, and we can relate to them. We know how it feels because it's scary, right? Up until that point, your largest purchase may be a car, maybe a laptop, right? You've never purchased something to that magnitude. So to hand over your life savings is scary.
Exactly.
Right? But you won't get to that point without being a little more prepared. And I think a lot of people, because they're being told it's impossible and prices are too high and interest rates are high, they just shut down, right?
Yeah.
It's what a lot of people do, right? Even you're scared in class, you have to read out loud and you shut down. Or you're on a date, you're scared, people get scared.
Yeah, it's a natural reaction.
Fight or flight, right? So Most important, reach out to a realtor, mortgage broker, ask questions, right? It's free and you're going to learn things.
Yeah.
Right? You might be more ready than you ever thought.
Exactly. You need to get educated. Go on Sue's TikTok and watch all the content that she has. She'll educate you, get you ready for, for the challenges that you may face when getting into the market for your first house. This whole idea that it's impossible to get a house and it's so hard and this and that is true in some sense for bigger houses, for, mansions that we watch on TV and we enjoy and we want. But there are still a lot of affordable and attainable products available in the marketplace, even in Toronto.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, I always say sometimes certain buyers, living in Toronto is a privilege.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It is the center of it all. It's an expensive city. Just similar to New York, people move to Jersey for a reason, based on affordability. In Toronto, sometimes you have to go to the GTA, you have to be pushed out a little bit, or more often, you have to size down. Right? You start somewhere. The first place I ever lived in after my parents' house was just over 400 square feet. It was tiny.
Yeah.
It was very tiny, and you make do, right? You have to start somewhere, but I think sometimes people are looking on Pinterest and Instagram, and they're seeing these big, beautiful homes and beautiful furniture, and it's great. It's something to aspire to, but it's not a starting point.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. And the beautiful thing about real estate is, as soon as you get into the market and you secure something, you're on this train. The train is always moving.
Yeah,
it's always going. It's going up and up. As long as you're on the train, you'll start earning equity. You'll start paying down your mortgage. You'll start having some leverage financially to then translate that into your dream home, right?
Yeah.
Or in something that fits more your needs. You're never going to start off, nobody's started off with their dream home unless they won the lottery or had a trust fund or something, right?
Yeah.
Which would be great to have, but generally
but your
we don't.
average person,
Yeah.
And I think the average person today is going to have to move a few more times than people like our parents, where maybe they had a starter home and then their dream home.
Right.
Right? Because the jump was a little bit easier then. Now, I mean, townhomes, it wasn't quite as prevalent. Now there's more asset classes for people to move up in.
Yeah, absolutely right. Speaking of jumping asset classes, let's talk a little bit about upsizing, because I know we had this conversation recently with the rest of the team, and you had some really good insights about the specific opportunities that are available in our market today because of the conditions that we have. Do you want to tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's never easy to move up for people, right? Because you're taking on a new challenge. But right now, this market presents a lot of opportunity for people to move up because the gap between asset classes has shrunk.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking at your one-bedroom condo in the last year, has gone down 50, 60,000, but that townhome that you've been eyeing maybe has come down 100, 120 in the last year. So
much more attainable gap.
Much more attainable gap. And I think, is it scary? Yes, same thing. It's always going to be scary, but sometimes people need to look at the big picture, kind of zoom out and say, you know what, this makes a lot of sense for me right now. I need to make this jump. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's one point. And the other thing is, you're going to be able to sell your one-bedroom condo much easier because it's a price point where there's a greater amount of affordability. More people can afford that product, as opposed to, let's say, for example, a townhouse, as it's a little bit more expensive and less people can afford it. So you're going to have an easier time selling than buying. Yeah, right?
Absolutely. So and it's that entry level product.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which everybody wants, and especially now with the massive amount of immigration that we have into the city, people are going to need a place to live. And generally, when people immigrate to a new country, they aren't going to start off with a 4-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom condo. They're going to start off slow with a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom or 1+10, something like that. So we've seen an increased demand. This is your area of expertise now in downtown, but I feel like I've seen an increased demand in the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom condos as opposed to before, right? I mean, that demand was always there for people coming into the city, but now it's even greater because of this immigration wave that we've had.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see it both on the resale side and the rental side of things. The entry-level condos are just taking off, smaller spaces. It's mostly out of necessity in a lot of cases, but we're also seeing that inventory come back where there's some really good inventory on the market right now at the price point where people can afford that. People have options again. So what I'm seeing a lot with my buyers is they've got options, they've got time. sometimes.
Yeah.
But those people have the luxury to shop around a little bit.
Right.
Right? It's a perfect market to throw some offers out there, right?
And see what sticks.
See what sticks.
Yeah.
Going a little bit low, gauge people's motivations. If you're not in a rush, it's the perfect opportunity.
Exactly. And you know what? Opportunities that never existed before. You never had this sort of, I don't want to say buyer's market because it's not still, it's on the cusp of becoming a buyer's market, but it's great opportunities. Lots of people, because of the interest rate environment that we have now, and the high, monthly payments, lots of people are looking to unload. So I know I know we have some great opportunities that we're working on with the team that are great buys. So there are opportunities out there. And if you look and you put yourself in the position to win some of these deals, you might actually win, right?
Absolutely.
Something that in 5 years' time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, you're going to look back on and you won't believe that you got this sort of a deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because real estate is in cycles. We've seen these high interest rates before. We've seen that cycle play out. We've seen the market, fluctuate between prices, and nothing is constant. The only thing that's constant is change, right?
Yeah.
And we know that, this will, with the immigration and the limited supply and the increased demand that we have, we know that the balance will shift and turn more into a seller's market.
In time, absolutely.
Almost guaranteed, right?
Almost guaranteed it.
Yeah.
With all the factors that you just named, right? Immigration, land scarcity, the insatiable demand in our city. And then on the flip side, on people that are selling units in the city, in the GTA as well, they have to be prepared for that exact same thing, right? Buyers, their affordability has been affected. They're throwing offers out there, sometimes a low ball to see if you'll take it, to see your motivations, or sometimes just because that is their max budget.
Exactly.
Right? So sellers, I've worked with a lot of sellers, obviously, and sometimes we get a low ball offer and they're a little bit offended, right?
Yep.
But it's important not to be offended. It's important to take that for what it is. It's a serious buyer. They've submitted an offer. Maybe we can work with it and get that offer up, or maybe their budget's just not there.
Yeah.
Right? But they're in love with the property.
Exactly.
So
there's
different perspectives.
For sure. And then there's, it's not just a one-sided decision. There's two sides to it, right? You got to also take into account the other property that you're going to move into. If you're selling and you're upsizing, you got to take that into account. If you're moving to another city or whatever the case may be, the market is the same pretty much for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So if you're taking a little bit less, you're getting a little bit less here for your home, you probably are getting you're paying a little bit less for your next home also, right?
Exactly.
So it's not just an isolated event, right?
Exactly. I hear that from my clients too, right? Like, oh, Sue, but you want to list my condo for $550, but I could have got $620 during the peak of the market.
Yeah.
And, the townhouse you're looking at, you're going to buy for $1 million, it would have sold for 1.4.
Exactly.
Right? So when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, it makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Speaking of buying, upsizing, another point that's, I think, relevant in today's market when it comes to upsizing is when you're getting that decreased, let's say you're paying a little bit more monthly, right, with the increased interest rates, but you're getting a big decrease in the purchase price, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting that benefit upfront now. It's coming out of your monthly, it's coming out of your purchase price.
Yeah.
Right? So with taking that into account and taking the fact that the price has dropped a little bit, would you say affordability for townhouses or houses, whatever the product is better now with that discount, or buying at a higher price but with lower interest rates in the peak of the market?
See, it's difficult because some people just can't afford that monthly, right? So it comes down a lot to what people are able to afford monthly, because you're not living in your purchase price, you're living in those monthly payments, right? So whether you purchase for $1 million, 800, 1.2, at the end of the day, you have to come up with X amount of dollars every single month to pay your mortgage. Right? So that's where the affordability component comes in. However, if you can afford the monthly payments, in my opinion, it's a lot better to buy and save a huge chunk on the purchase price, because if we compare what you're saving to how much extra you're spending on interest, you're saving a lot more on the purchase price than you're spending on interest.
Exactly.
So it definitely outweighs it. At the end of the day, it does come down to what people can afford.
It's what they say, marry the house, date the rate. Yeah. We talked a little bit about downtown. Are there any specific, what's your favorite pocket? What's a pocket that you personally like in downtown? And then a follow-up question to that is, what do you see as the pocket that has the most potential for appreciation in the downtown market?
So I get this question probably more than anything else. I get this question all the time. Sue, where would you live? Where do you want to buy? What's your next move, right?
Fans want to know.
People love it. And for me, honestly, I love the East Core and kind of the East waterfront.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge untapped market, in my opinion. There's so much coming in that area.
Huge development.
The city is kind of pushing out that way. I think there's some great projects coming in that area.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Ontario line, the Lower Donlands redevelopment. That, to me, indicates a lot of future growth. And then on the flip side, I also love it now. It's probably one of my favorite neighborhoods because it's a little less congested, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're living there now, you've got a lot of people walking dogs. You've got, a nice melting pot. It feels very Toronto in terms of demographic. Like, you've got a little bit of everything. You've got amazing restaurants. You can walk to everything. You've got transit. You've got everything you need at your doorstep. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also a sucker for the lake. So that's why it's my favorite.
Who isn't? Yeah. Toronto is, the lake is a big part.
Yeah, that east of Yonge, kind of south of the Gardiner.
Yeah.
Those buildings there, some of those views just can't be beat.
Exactly.
Yeah, big fan of the East Core, especially for investment. I think there's a lot of growth potential in that area with the Ontario line coming, a lot of redevelopment, everything else going on. Great area for investment.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of good pockets for investment in Toronto, especially if you're looking at pre-con. Then it's a lot looking at builder, location. Predominantly, those are the two big factors. Obviously, there's other things to consider, like incentives, deposit structure. But in my opinion, location and builder is
most
top
important.
of mind.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And especially now, since today, they've closed up the Greenbelt again. They're opening it and closing it. Nobody knows what's going on there. But still, what that's going to do is going to set free a lot of funds that developers have. And they're going to probably go and find areas that they can invest that and use that for development, right?
Yeah.
In the west side, there's been lots of developments by Tridel and other companies. But land there is scarce. Development there has been going on for some time. But the east side is somehow still untouched for the most part, right? Yeah. So we've seen the maps and the projected projects there. There's a huge amount of development going to go happen in the East End, just like we saw in the West End. Yeah. And I think the exact same thing that happened to the West End, which was prices soared, is going to happen now in the East End, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity both for enjoyment and living and both for investment there in the East End. That's really good. I know just this week there was a launch there by, I think it was called The Riv, by River and Queen, by the Broccolini Group. It was a really, nice building that they have going on, and the prices were really, attractive. Yeah. I think it was roughly, when we calculated it, comes down to $1,100 to $1,200 a square foot, depending on the unit size, which is, a good 200, 300, 400 square feet, $400 a square foot, maybe more if you look at Yorkdale and other places, lower than the other
Absolutely.
markets.
I mean, it's important, especially on the pre-con side, to shop around a bit, right? There's some projects selling for $2,000 a square foot, right? Maybe it's a little more luxury, maybe it's the location, maybe it's Yorkville, and then there's projects selling for $1,200 a square foot, and there's something everywhere in between, especially if you're looking at downtown.
Right.
Location's huge, right? River and Queen, great area. You've got like a lot of coming in that area.
Right.
Similarly, like Church Yonge Corridor, great area in my opinion to invest. You can see so many builders already investing in that pocket. But at the same time, projects like the Riv and a lot of the ones coming, Centricity, so many, it takes very skilled builders to be able to put these projects up.
Exactly.
Right? It's not these mom and pop shop builders that we saw throughout COVID.
Right.
It's the more skilled, the more experienced, right? The ones that have put in
the work before,
and to be able to build on, like you said, small plots of land and be able to execute these types of projects.
Exactly, and it plays a big role in the safety of the projects. You want the builder to be able to afford closing it, right?
Exactly.
You want them to have a bankroll. You want them to have staff. You want them to be able to, manage these tough times, ups and downs, and whatever that we have in the real estate market. Some of these mom and pop builders and new developers, they might not have that experience or that bankroll, that backing.
Exactly.
Right. So it plays more to your point about the main thing being the right builder, right? Yeah. So these are obviously things that we need to pay attention to when we're buying in pre-con. One part of it is the builder. Another part of it is the right advice, right? Having the right guidance when it comes pre-con or anything else in real estate. I would say the Tyler McLay Realty Group is one of the biggest, if not the biggest and the best, teams in Toronto. They're super active. You guys do a ton of deals. We're all over the place. It's it's really it's a good, I would say, source of information and source of knowledge when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are all both third generation
Yes.
realtors, so these cycles you've probably seen many, many times.
I mean, growing up around it, you've heard about it.
Yeah.
I grew up kind of listening to my mom's offer negotiations, or I used to tag along a lot, right? I used to go with her to open houses and help set up.
Yeah.
Right? Kindergarten would be like one day on, one day off.
Right.
So I would love going to work with my mom, and whether it was like folding envelopes or folding letters or going to open houses, or, obviously she couldn't take me everywhere because you can't always take your toddler on your showings, but when I could go, I always wanted to be there because I just loved the whole atmosphere. And yeah, it's important, and I think it does kind of translate, and I think that's the best thing about our team. And I might be a little bit biased, but I agree. I love our team, love the dynamic, and we've got that, the experience, the value that we add to every client we work with, whether they're a first-time buyer, whether it's a family, whether, it's not always an exciting transaction. Sometimes there's been a death in the family.
Absolutely. And to further build on your point, this plays into the importance of the right builder, because with these mom and pop builders that we saw that don't necessarily have a big bankroll or experience in developing in tough times like we saw after COVID, having a good and experienced builder with a big bankroll will add to the safety of that a little bit.
Add some reassurance, right? And you hear some horror stories, and it happens, and people have had terrible goes in the pre-con space. That's why we only push projects that we truly, truly believe in. And there's certain builders that we love, right? Because I've seen their past projects. I've been in their buildings, right? So even a building launched by Menkes, I took my clients that were interested to other Menkes projects, showed them the quality of those builds, right? It's nice when you have tangible products to show them, because that's the thing with pre-con, you're buying a blueprint.
Exactly,
right? You can't go and see it or feel it. And it's a different building, different finishes, but you get a better idea of what that builder can do. And I think that's really important too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So builder is really important. Choosing the right builder is important. Also getting the right advice when it comes to areas, what to invest in, what are important factors when it comes to pre-con, like assignment fees and capped development charges and stuff like that. So having the right advice and the right people in your corner is all obviously really important too. How would you say that plays a role in people's decisions?
I think that's huge. I think working with the right realtor is going to get you the best advice, and working with a realtor who is truly, truly passionate about this job, right? Passionate about the industry, passionate about what they do, and that's going to translate in their work, right? I see it all the time, and unfortunately, I hate to hear it, but I get calls, hey, Sue, I bought a pre-con from so-and-so, I bought XYZ agent. I didn't know I had to pay this. I didn't know what development charges were. I didn't know XYZ. I didn't have any idea that there's closing costs. Right? Because they're not explaining it fully, or maybe they don't know themselves, or whatever it is. If you're working with the right realtor, you're going to have all the information you need to make an informed decision. I'm not here to make my clients buy anything. I give them all the facts that they need, whether it's pre-con, whether it's resale, whether they're selling their house. Here's the facts. I give them my own opinions, but it's their decision. But they can't make a good decision without all the right information. And that's where your realtor really plays an important role.
Right. You don't want a salesperson, you almost want a real estate shaman to guide you, educate you, and guide you through this mountain.
Spirit guide.
Treacherous mountain of real estate, which is Toronto real estate, right? So that's definitely a big part. And I would say having the right advice and having the people that are constantly in this market, constantly meeting with developers, constantly have deals in these buildings and know people that have bought there and know their experiences is definitely a good asset to have. Not only is it important to have a good team, not only just one realtor, but a good team of real estate professionals for pre-con, but it's also important for resale and other purchases as well. And it just doesn't end with realtors. It plays into financial
Yeah.
advisors and mortgage brokers and real estate lawyers and people that are on the same page, people that have worked together before. You don't want a team of doctors who've never seen each other operating on you.
Exactly.
You want a team of doctors that have done hundreds of operations together with the right anesthesiologist and, you know, all these other different, you know,
100%.
professions that know each other, that flow well together and can communicate well.
100%, right? Everyone's going to have different clients looking for different things, even in the same markets. And I love working on a team because, first of all, you get each other's collaboration and support, and it's important in a business like real estate because you don't have a regular office job where there's that water cooler talk, right? There's no social element, so to say, unless you go out looking for it. And you know, there's a lot of ups and downs in this business, so it's important to have a team to rely on to, you know, hold yourself accountable and really be able to perform at 100% of the time. Yeah. Right? And similar to your point, I might have someone looking for something, you might have a listing coming soon, right? And I wouldn't know that if we weren't on the same team, right? We're going to talk about what you have coming, what I'm looking for, different things like that. Similar, you know, I don't do a ton of commercial, right? Yeah. But there's people on the team that do. Exactly. And I can kind of pass things off to them and make sure that my clients are in the best hands for whatever we need. Exactly. Yeah. And a big part of that is education and staying up to date with the market. We always have meetings with developers. We have meetings with brokers. We have meetings with other professionals amongst ourselves with Tyler and with other people that are really solid in this industry who guide us and teach us and are there for us to access when things come up and we want to, you know, clarify things. So it's definitely stronger in numbers kind of a situation, I think, when it comes to this field as well. And, you know, it's a privilege and it's super, you know, fulfilling to be a part of that machine that's constantly well-oiled machine that's working and just solving problems and creating opportunities and doing all these things. Exactly, because that's the other thing, right? It's a creative business. Sometimes you might be doing a deal and there's an issue that arises. And sometimes you got to get a little creative of how can we solve this issue? You know, the seller took the fridge, they weren't supposed to take the fridge. Have you ever dealt with this, Amir? How can I make this deal happen? Right? Sometimes you need people to talk to and you can brainstorm a little bit, and that's when you're going to really get those deals to the finish line, because it's not just about, you know, the day you list the house and then, you know, okay, I can put my feet up and I can relax now. It's wait for a buyer. Every day in between. Yeah, every day in between. And then also the economies of scale having a team too, right? We're able to service more, do more, add more value. Everything we do is kind of magnified because we're such a strong, close unit. Right. And I think it really shows in the output. Yeah, exactly. And any problem that I've faced in the past with my experience is an asset, and every problem that everybody else has faced is an asset too. So I haven't solved, let's say, 100 problems. I've solved 100 problems times 10 because there's 10 of us, right? And everybody solved different problems, and we can feed off of that experience, and we can feed off of that, you know, creative solutions that we were able to come up with and recreate that for better results and better results and better results, right? Exactly. And connections. You mentioned connections as well, and like people in that real estate space, not realtors, but finance, mortgage brokers and lawyers and everything. The relationships we have as a team, even developers, so important for our clients, right? Because if they want a certain project, we can get it for them. We can get information on different projects and get them in early access. Similar, we can be a lot more competitive in our offer strategies. We've been working with the same lawyers for years and years. They'll review sometimes, if you know, you ask nicely. I've gotten a status for a condo reviewed on a Sunday night. Right? Offers are that day. We saw the condo, we want to be competitive, so we get the status reviewed same day. Really helps. I did a deal just this January where it was a relocation deal where a company in the United States was selling on behalf of the seller, so they were handling it. It was a very unique situation. They had their own contracts, their own writers, nothing like we have in Ontario, and it was very difficult to make sure that this is legally solid because we haven't been trained for that. I was able to get a lawyer to review it that same weekend, and we were able to put an offer on the weekend, and it got accepted for I guarantee you, much lower than it would have if we had waited till the next week and everybody else had that opportunity to review it and be comfortable with it and put an offer, right? So
in that instance, I'm sure we've saved upwards of $60,000-$70,000 compared to the other sales in that area, just because we were able to be quick.
Speed, right?
And
Speed.
and be confident. Ultimately, we don't want to take any risk. We want to be confident. We want to make sure everything's tight. Right?
If you don't have the right team behind you, then going too quickly means you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly.
If you've done it before, like our team has, we've seen these markets, we've seen different issues, we're well equipped to handle whatever this crazy market throws at us.
Exactly.
We can move quickly without making mistakes.
Yeah, and there's real value to that, I would say.
Absolutely.
And real results. Sometimes people choose family and friends to transact with, which is great for us because we love dealing with family and friends, but that's not necessarily the best choice, right? That's not the most important thing you need to take into account. Again, with the doctor and patient situation, if my cousin is a general practitioner, I'm not going to have, orthopedic surgery with him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's not his specialty. That's not what he's geared towards, right? But in real estate, when it comes to the biggest purchase of your life, that's going to affect you for generations possibly, we think somehow it's okay to transact and deal with family and friends that may not always be qualified, right? And I think that's a big problem, that big mistake that sometimes people make.
Yeah, well, we all share the same title, right? There's no designation of, you're a pre-con agent and I'm a commercial agent and they do resale. There's no designation, right? And I think a lot of people act out of obligation, like you said, because, I feel so bad. I have to use them because they're my uncle. Yeah. And I totally understand and I appreciate, because I can see where they're coming from. But again, it's the largest investment you will ever make in your life. And if your uncle transacts in Collingwood and knows Collingwood inside and out, is he the best person to use when buying a condo downtown Toronto? Probably not. Yeah. Right? So it's very important that you're making the best decisions to set yourself up for success. Exactly. Because when you move into that condo and you realize that it's maybe not the best building, it's poorly managed, that there's some issues, the elevators are terrible, and there's an unfavorable
Airbnbs everywhere.
Airbnbs or
nice condos.
Maybe not. I don't want to say it. Or like maybe it's not even a good area, right? Yeah. Some people purchase in the wrong area because they just don't know. Yeah. You're going to see it on a Saturday afternoon and you see it, you're there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you purchase this condo. Yeah. That condo could look a lot different on a Monday morning. Exactly. Right? But that's where an experienced realtor who is day in, day out transacting in that neighborhood, in that market, can really make all the difference. Exactly. If it's too good to be true, without your realtor being able to explain why, it's probably, there's got to be a good choice, right? There's got to be a why. If there are opportunities that specifically it's why these opportunities exist, and you can understand them, then it's good. But if sometimes you see, too good to be true opportunities and you don't understand why, then that's where it's a little bit shaky. I always like to say cheaper isn't better all the time. Sometimes you get a deal, great. I love getting things on sale. If I can get my shoes on sale, even better. Doing it, yeah. But you might not get this reference, but my Dyson works a whole lot better than a Revlon blowout brush. Yeah. So much better. It also cost me infinitely more. Right. But it's a much higher quality product. Yeah. That can also be related to. Yeah. It looks good. Works well. I got a lot of hair, so it was an investment. Yeah, my Dyson was definitely an investment. Yeah. Saves me a lot of time. But at the same time, you're spending money to get something of better quality. Sometimes in the real estate market, the same thing is true, right? Going back to pre-con or resale or anything, if you want a luxury unit or a luxury home, you're going to pay the price. Same if you're hiring a realtor. We all see the ads, I'll sell your home for 1%. Guaranteed. Where does that come from? Yeah. Right? Where is that? If they're cutting commission to that degree, then, are they going to generate the same value for your house? Probably not. Right? And in real estate, it's a direct impact on the results, right? Yeah. If we spend what we spend on marketing and we put the effort that we do in marketing and getting eyes and having the network that you have and the network that some of our other agents have, that there's real value to that, right? So if we cut corners just because we're cutting commission, right, we'll have a significantly reduced sale price, right? We'll have less results. So you might be saving X amount of dollars here, but you're losing 5X amount of, dollars when it comes to sale. And look, during the peak of the market, if you put a sign on the lawn and waited 24 hours, there'd be buyers at your door.
Yeah.
Right? Those days have come and gone. That is not the case anymore. So we are definitely in the market where you need to be marketing your home strategically, getting eyes on the market. We talked a lot about exposure.
Yeah.
And if you're not letting your agent do that, it's like this, right?
Yep.
My hands are tied. I'm not able to do what I do best, right?
Exactly.
And that is getting buyers into homes.
Into homes, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Well, very insightful. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
We definitely. Where can we find you, Sue?
At Sue McLay
On
Realty
TikTok?
on all platforms. So
On
Instagram,
platforms.
TikTok, everything, just Sue McLay Realty.
Yeah. Well, I follow you everywhere, and I
I hope
definitely
so.
get a lot of value out of it, and I'm sure the viewers would also.
I hope so.
And it was great. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having
Thank you
me.
for sharing your insights with us. We definitely enjoyed it, and we can't wait to have you back on again
Yeah.
and do more.
Anytime. It's my
more
favorite thing to
episodes.
talk about.
Yes, I as well. Thanks so much.
Okay, great.
Okay.